What is chaos? For many of us, it used to mean disorder or the end of the world. But chaos is something different. Chaos is life. All it needs is a spark, an amplifier. But memory or safe points are just as essential. Without a dampener, it either spirals into infinity or collapses into nothingness. It swirls around strange attractors, unreachable points of stability that still keep it alive, like a beating heart. And when those four elements come together, what emerges is like a spring butterfly, appearing in the eternal fog of winter. On the other hand, what is order? The illusion of control, productivity, predictability, bore and slow death. Pickaxe blow after pickaxe blow against this cold seam, and all for nothing but pain, coughing, and exhaustion. But sometimes, between the fear of fire damp and the darkness of the mine, hope is like unexpected glimmering dust in the light of our headlamps.
Bring the prisoner, please, to my office. So, what have we got here? One of the so-called poets of chaos. What is your name? Oh, wait a bit. You don't use first and last names anymore. How should I call you?
Voyageur is fine. I have wandered a lot in the foglands and visited the metropolises of old. I imagine I had to live up to the reputation of my code name.
Did you know that the bounty on your head is still active? It is enough to keep our community alive for a month. A month of food supplies, protection against intruders, and free of any coal shipment. We could have sold you to the ephemerals.
Yet, here I am, not free, but toiling for nothing in your coal mines. So, there must be a reason why I am still breathing. Perhaps you have a better bargain to propose.
I am not blind to what is happening. We have all heard the call on the radio. The poets' broadcast called for all their agents to come back to Paris. Old friends and new eyes alike. Every last volunteer. Perhaps it is their final hour. Perhaps they will be able to defeat the ephemerals. But what I know for certain is that they are still a force to be reckoned with if they unite. And among all the poets, you were once a kind of leader, a general and a prophet.
I am no prophet nor general, but I can hook you up with the poets for sure. All I want is freedom, my gear, my dog, and my car, if you have not dismantled it yet. What you will gain will be more than a month of mere survival. So, if we got a deal, you lose a hell of a miner, and you get new trustful friends beyond the fog. So, in a few words, this is how I was set free. The colopros in Belgium feared the ephemerals almost as much as I hate them. I could find Argus, my mangy dog, my fox-stalker outfit, and of course, my beast. To be honest, this could not be called a car. It was more like a makeshift armored half-track, with small-caliber artillery, hidden machine guns and fire throwers, a land dreadnought to cruise to the permasmog that had covered the devastated lands. It was bringing me closer to ephemerals, since I was scavenging the last oil and coal reserves to keep it running. But the beast was the only way to travel in this world. Tourism was no longer an option. My road went by flooded Brussels, Sea levels had risen despite the cold, post-apocalyptic world. The albedo of the white, fog-covered earth was trapping heat in the oceans. The sea was still warm, but the air was cooler. Geoengineering had failed. Too many side effects interacted with atmospheric contamination, creating a permanent spot, the permasmog, as we soon called it, in reference to permafrost. It was everywhere. It was our main enemy, dimming sunlight and killing crops. However, it was slowly thinning. Some scientists predicted that one day it would vanish. But when? That was the big question. I then veered towards Rome, crossing the Ardennes. It wasn't the most direct route, but probably the safest. I had been freed too easily, and I figured the Colal Post had played both sides by setting my trail to the ephemerals. My pursuers were probably waiting for me around Lille or Amiens. That said, it was worth setting up an ambush for them. With the beast impossible to hide on my own, I had to rely on the locals. Luckily, with a few promises of good news and the fear the ephemerals inspired, they were easy enough to convince. After all, their role was more symbolic. They just had to hide me from strangers for 3 days and report any newcomers in exchange for a barrel of oil I was carrying in my trunk. Then, all I had to do was wait for the perfect moment. Wasting bullets on my pursuers would have been a pointless luxury. I simply watched them, methodical in their search, scrutinizing every trace the beast had left behind. Then they spread out, confident they could encircle me, closing the news with practiced precision. But they had forgotten who they were up against. I was no hero, just an aging survivor, a relic of the world before the fall, fully aware of my dwindling strength and the odds stacked against me. I struck from behind, knife in hand. I wasn't the last shadow, so there were no shadows left in the sunless world. I was only a white coat, slipping out of the mist and into her blind spots, a breath too close to their ears, a silence that followed. One by one, I dispatched them, scanning their paltry belongings afterward and siphoning enough to fill a jerrycan. After all, the blood of the ephemerals was partially made of octane. When filtered, it provided valuable fuel. I hated making these kinds of vile calculations, but they were a necessity for survival. After brief goodbyes, a light rain began to fall. It was not acid for once. That could only mean one thing: the beginning of the end for the fog. The cold monsoon was on its way, ready to wash it out, layer by stubborn layer. Life was about to come back. Unfortunately, the ephemerals had chosen this moment to invade Paris, one of the last bastions of resistance to their rule and propaganda. On the airwaves, the call from my old friend the whistler kept looping, an echo that refused to die. I wasn't sure yet if it was good or bad news, but I brought the rain, and that had to mean something. As I returned to the Battenfall highway, crawling through a wasteland of electric car husks, rusted pillars, and abandoned traffic jams, I inched cautiously toward Paris, barely shifting out of second gear. July was about to peak, but dear fog, the temperature barely reached 7 Celsius. I began to recognize fragments of the northern suburbs, ghostly landmarks emerging from every space. I decided to approach through a place that still meant something to me. Back when football still existed, I had watched a few matches at the Stade de France. The poor communities who lived there, it would be irreversible. Its walls were strong, space vast, with some ingenuity. A sharper sunlight could peek out to the fight fog. Suspended fuels would be red, drops nurtured. The old clearer hit it all. But as I crept closer, my mind circled back to one unknown question. What kind of welcome awaited the air?
Les sanglants m'évolent longtemps avant l'automne. Oui, c'est l'onction cure d'une senteur d'acétone. On dehors, tout est cramoisi ou crème gagnée par la rouille. Mais je me souviens du soleil et des rayons qui chatouillent. Les carcasses immobiles, sous le voile étouffant de la brume nos cils s'emplissent d'un silence suffocant. Je poursuivrai mon chemin, ouvrez les portes du premier cercle, laissez entrer la brume morte. Je marche avec la pluie au-delà de l'éther, survivant du vieux monde, prêt pour la nouvelle ère. Je vous salue bien bas, humain d'outre brouillard. Devant vous la légende se tient le plus grand des fuyards. Au nom de Dante, l'enfer avant toute chose. Au nom de Verlaine, abandonnez l'espoir morose. Je poursuivrai mon chemin, ouvrez les portes du premier cercle, laissez entrer la brume morte. Lorsque les voyelles de Rimbaud se lasseront de ce blanc javel, et que les consonnes telles à flambeau crépiteront moins cruelles, peut-être nous rencontrerons-nous sous leur blafarde. Peut-être nous ferons-nous de ce jour une pierre moins hagarde dans nos mémoires. Ce soir, au nom des poètes du chaos, ouvrez les portes, je ne vous causerai aucun problème. Dans le premier cercle, laissez entrer le père emblème.
What was this shitty song? And who the fuck are you?
This was AI-generated music, young lady. Voyageur is the name.
Duh. Never call me a lady again. I am Blady. Easy to guess why. Follow us inside, stranger.
I am not a stranger. I am Voyageur. I have been here before, when you were still probably a little baby.
I am the fourth eldest here. I am 23. There are only teenagers and lost children in the stadium. So, be warned. If you are the true Voyager, be welcomed. But if you try to fool us, your head will be chopped off in the blink of an eye. Deal.
Then, I have nothing to fear from you. Show me the place and tell me your story. This is how I met her. Brady and the survivors of the stadium. It was a first step. Then a new chapter had to be written.